It's not even just money, it's tech. There's many failed experiments at a VC level. I mean, the traditional, what is it, like they make 10 investments, one will break even and one should make back everything else. One's, they get one Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat in all of those. I think what's happening is we are, with these projects and with these crypto protocols, it was Jill Carlson who said, and she's changed her name, she's got married, but she said this to me a long time ago. These protocols are essentially IPOing at seed stage.
Yep, that's right.
That's essentially what's happening. And where venture capitalists have a long history of analyzing risk and studying founders and monitoring them, perhaps having somebody on the board and keeping a close eye on their investments and having follow-up rounds if they're successful, et cetera, that risk is now, in some ways, the VC's taking the very, very, very early bet. And then we've got this kind of, that's like almost like a pre-seed stage, really. And the seed and the IPOs happen at the same time, and all the risk is now being put onto the millions of crypto investors around the world. And what I've noticed is a lot of these VCs are actually getting to exit prior to the collapse of some of these ideas that just are unworkable. I mean, Pantera, I don't hold it against them, but they managed to, 1.7 million they put in, and they bought away 170 million.
Yeah, I saw that excerpt in the New York Times, yeah.
I mean, congratulations to them. But who are the losers for that to happen? Who are these inexperienced investors who aren't ready for this?
I don't think we talk enough about, you're touching on a couple themes here. One is markets are adversarial.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think for a second someone's not trying to make a buck off of you, right? And so when we say, that's why stablecoins have this special type of danger where you think that there's no failure mode, but actually it belongs in this extremely adversarial, permissionless, global tech and financial ecosystem that we call DeFi. People are trying to make it fail, right? People are trying to make a buck. I think the other thing that you're touching on here is that as systems get a lot more complex, there's inherently more trust. There's inherently going to be more of a need for intermediaries. The beauty of Bitcoin is the trustlessness is kind of okay because it's so simple. It's really easy to audit. As you build more and more complex interconnected ecosystems, you begin to introduce trust. You begin to introduce trusting the smart contract dev, the auditor, the person who holds the keys to the multi-signature wallet. You begin to trust me. You begin to trust some random guy on Twitter to have done the correct analysis and help you understand that, hey, there's this failure mode. It may happen. It may not happen. And who's to say I don't have financial incentives?
Yeah, look, that's a really fair point. And even Bitcoin is not completely trustless. I had a conversation recently with Adam Back related to the CTV BIP 119, is that the correct one name, upgrades recently. And I said, I base my decision, Adam, on trusting people like you and your opinions. I'm not a techie. I'm not a cryptographer. When people are discussing a BIP, I can read the BIP. Do I understand if it's technically a good idea? Probably not. Do I understand whether there's good social consensus around this? Probably a little bit. I can do a little bit more there. But in the end, if you, Adam Back, say this is a bad idea, I'm like, it's probably a bad idea because over the last 5 years, you've become somebody I trust because I can't make these decisions myself. And what does Greg Maxwell say? What does Andrew Polstra say? I trust Jeremy Rubin, certain amount. I think he's a great guy, but I trust him a bit less because he hasn't built that trust model. So the trust exists. So nothing is fully trustless.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's right. And I was just thinking the other day, do we really want to have an unintermediated relationship with all the products that we use? I was just out in Brooklyn yesterday at Elsewhere leaning against a railing. And I'm like, how many people do I have to trust going back in the supply chain to know this isn't going to collapse under me and I'll fall to my death? Some guy in China extruding a metal pipe, some iron ore worker, some regulator, some guy who's underpaid, on the New York metropolitan staff inspecting this railing. Our whole worldview is built on trust. So the question is, where do we grant it and where do we not grant it, right? And one of the things that again, I'll beat this drum, that we can do as an industry is start to build that trust by proactively disclosing, by saying, here are the risks, by engaging in that discussion publicly. Now, Do Kwon is a pretty flagrant example of not doing that, because under collateralized stablecoins are on some level faith-based, just like the US dollar is faith-based. Now, there are really strong reasons the US dollar keeps its value, not least of which is the threat of violence by the US military. But some of these things that can fail in tail cases, they are faith-based. And so that's why Do Kwon was very, I don't know what the right word is, really outspoken about the fact that it would never fail.
But I think you make a fair point that these things they're different products from the dollar. Whilst they're dollar pegged, they're different products. I mean, look, the dollar can fail. Currencies have failed.
For sure.
And it can fail for the same reason. The reason there's high inflation at the moment. Not the only reason. We have to be clear about this. Because some people think the high inflation rate is just because the US has printed a whole bunch of money. It's not just because of that. There's other reasons why you get inflation and prices go up. But generally speaking, if you print more dollars, you're going to have inflation and your dollars are going to be worth less. What happened with Terra and Luna is an extreme version of that. But they're almost like dollar derivatives in some way.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think in all of this, the dollar has kept its primacy.
Yeah.
One of the things that we forget is that stablecoins are also pegged to dollars, and they are experiencing price inflation if you live in the United States.